Hello everyone. I'd like to say thank you for joining today's session. What we're going to do first, before we actually get started with today's agenda, is we're actually going to look at RB9 and talk about some visual differences and clicking and navigating the application that make it different from how you guys utilize RB8. First off, RB9 is a full web-based application. So that means that all you need is an internet browser and an internet connection, and you can basically use RB from wherever you are. There's no more program you have to install and worry about having managed on your PC. So that means you can use RB on a desktop PC, a laptop, a Mac, a MacBook, a tablet, technically even your phone. Your phone has a browser and you can technically use RB9 on your phone as well. Now, all of your usernames and passwords from RB8 will convert over. So you can log in using your same credentials, or RB can be set to use email as their login as well. So I'm going to go ahead, and as you can see, I've logged into RB9. And let's just take a look around and kind of explain a couple things, the differences between RB8 and RB9. Now, up at the top, you still have your menus, and you can see a lot of these menus are still the same as what they were in RB8. There are a couple noticeable differences. We did add an entities menu here, and basically all of these items are under setup. And then if you guys have RB Web, we now call that RB Connect, and basically we just put RB Connect functionality under its own menu heading as well. Your personal options is at the top left of your RB8 screen, can be found at the top right where you see your name logged in. You highlight it, and this will show you your personal options where you have your user preferences, your notifications and messages and whatnot. Okay, so let's talk about navigating the program. So I'm going to open up some functions, and I'm not really opening up anything in particular. I'm just opening up random stuff just to show you guys that when you do open functions in RB9, it's similar to how RB8 does it. They all open up as tabs at the top, as you can see. Your search criteria are still on the left-hand side, and for the most part, searching in this application is exactly the same as RB8 is, because we didn't want to totally reinvent the wheel with how you guys are finding functions to open up and how you're actually searching data to actually pull up data. We want that to still be an efficient manner for you, so we try to keep that for the most part the same, with making some additions, adding search criteria, things like that. Okay. Now, search criteria is on the left. Right hand side is your results pane. So as an example, invoice inquiry, I can go back in time a little bit and pull up all my invoices from July 1st. This is how you look at the data. So this is again similar to what RB8 shows you. The grid layout, you could say, mimics a spreadsheet, columns and rows of data. Get your grand totals at the bottom. See how many total records you're looking at down here at the bottom right. You still have your export options down here at the bottom right as well. This little button right here is export. And you can still export grid layout functions to Excel or as a CSV file. Okay. Now, some of our functions are still reports. Like, for example, jobs printout. You guys might not use this, being production and billing. But just to show you what a report looks like, it's very similar to what you're used to. Okay, so reports format may have changed a little bit, but again, we try to keep them similar. If you're already used to using them, they will remain that way. You can still print reports out if you need to, or you can export like to PDF if you want to. Okay, so those are always good to do. Now, let's talk about opening up detail windows in RB9, because this is a little different than RB8. If you ever wanted to open up a detail window in RB8, you can double click a line in a grid layout, or you can right click and view it. Now I will tell you this, in RB9, both of those functionalities are gone. There is no longer any double clicking inside of RB9, and you no longer right click inside of RB9. No more double clicking, because this is a website. Anytime you want to go to another page on any website, do you ever double click anything? No, you don't. You click on a link, and the link will take you to your next page. That's the same thing as RB9. Like in this example, the invoice number over to the left is the very first column is the clickable link. You can see it's blue, just like with any website link. And when you cursor over it, it actually makes the hand pointer. Okay. So right-clicking. This is my right-click options. These are options that Chrome is giving me. So we don't control that. So right-clicking is gone. Since you're in a web browser, right-clicking is reserved for the web browser's controls. Okay? So don't even bother trying to right-click. Don't even bother trying to double-click. If you want to open something up, click on the link, and that will open up the page. Okay? So as you can see right here, I actually opened up an invoice, right? And if you look at the top right, it's actually open up there as a tab. Okay? So that's actually one of the things that I like about RB9 over RB8 is that you can see whatever you have open in the same screen as the rest of the functions. I can go back, I can open up another invoice, and you can see exactly which ones you have open at the top. So of course I like that a lot more than RB8 because RB8, in my opinion, was a little hard because, right, you have to click on the icon at the bottom of your computer and then you see which windows are open and then you have to click that one. So again, it's a little hard to control that. Now, let's talk about some other differences in being inside of a detail window. Okay, for example, if you ever open up a detail window in RB8, there's always tabs at the top that go left to right where you can get information pertaining to whatever detail window you're in. Like for example, you know, when you open up Invoice Inquiry, you're on the General tab. Then you may have the Additional tab. Then you'll have the Witnesses tab. Then the Resources tab. So forth and so on. Each one of those tabs, it gives you different bits of information, right? Well, notice at the top of this Invoice Detail screen, there are no more tabs, right? Instead, RB9 just goes top to bottom. So it's the same sections broken down from the RB8 tabs. They just go top to bottom. So General section, which would have been the General tab. Additional, which would have been the Additional tab. Then you have Orders, Resource Pay, Receivables, Transactions, Repository, and Notes Log. So everything is still broken down into sections, which were the tabs in RB8, but they just go top to bottom. Okay. Now that's a lot of scrolling. What if I want to get back up to the General section? Do I have to do this? No, you don't have to do that. Okay, so I actually have a little tip for you guys that'll speed that up, make it a little easier to navigate to somewhere exactly where you want to be. So if you'll notice at the top left of this detail window, where Invoice says View Invoice. And if I click right there, you'll see this gives me all of my options for where I can navigate to. So everything beyond the Expand All, these are all the individual sections of this detail window. So if I need to look at the resource pay for this particular invoice, I can simply click resource pay and it jumps me right there. If I want to go back to General, click on General, it takes me back to the top. Okay? So that's how you jump around inside of the actual detail windows. So get used to that. That'll save you some time. Now I want you to also notice something. Literally when I am in a view screen, I'm literally just viewing. I can't make any changes to any of these fields, period. You'll see everything is pretty much just a solid field. If you want to make changes to a record, there's always an edit button at the top. So if you click edit, Invoice Inquiry doesn't have as many editable fields, but you can see right here, for example, invoice message I can now manipulate. If you come down, there's the additional section. I can actually populate these fields if I forgot. But they're all open now for me to be able to type in. So that is something to get used to. When you open a record, you're in view mode. When you click edit, you're then in edit mode. So those are the types of things you should get used to. Another nice thing about everything opening up as these tabs inside the screen is that you can open up as many as you want, and they just keep going to the right. Nothing really opens on top of each other. Like RB8 is always window on top of window on top of window on top of window. The problem with that is not only did it get dizzy to find out what you had open, but you could get to a place to where you opened up a detail window and it wouldn't allow you to basically go anywhere else. I couldn't minimize it and go look at something else. I had to close that existing one, and then I would be able to navigate other places. So since RB opens in one screen inside of the web browser, it'll just allow you to open whatever you want. And you'll always be able to see what's open because it will open up as a tab at the top. Okay. So let's go ahead and we're going to close all these tabs. Okay, so today's focus is going to be on production and billing. Okay, so we're going to look at production from two aspects. So obviously production in my standpoint is, reporter turning in the job, and now we need to turn in that information into RB using the turn in module. We need to use RB to create the PDFs, and we need to use RB to do the shipping as well. Then from the billing side after that, of course, that's finishing the invoice off and actually posting and sending their invoices. Okay, so we're going to look at turn in from two aspects. One, you guys do it from scratch. So reporter turns in the job to you, hands you in the billing sheet in ASCII. You're going to start it from scratch to put everything in. Number two, we'll see what it looks like when you receive a job via RB Connect turn-in, which is called RB Web for what you have now. So your reporters are submitting the turn-in through RB Connect, and we'll see what that looks like when you receive it and how you finish that billing off for that particular job. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple things. So how do I start the turn-in RB9? Well, it's very similar to RB8. I can go to Production, Turn-in, put my job number in, and find it. Okay, just like RB8. Maybe you guys are already in the calendar. Maybe the job was up. You were looking at stuff already. Maybe you were in here making sure this is what the job you needed to turn in and do, right? Can you get to turn in from here? Yes, you can. Click on More. Select Turn in. So either way you go, this of course bypasses going to the turn in function, searching, and then clicking here to open it, right? When I click this job number in the turn in function, this would actually be the turn in, what it would look like. Okay? Now, as you can see, the turn in window in RB9 is completely different. So you're used to the 4 quadrants of turn in RB8. Now, RB9 is simply 2 sections. It's a witnesses section and an invoices section. If I have to compare this to RB8, I would say that the witnesses section is like step 1 of RB8 turn-in, and the invoices section is like steps 2, 3, and 4. So I'll relate this turn-in to the RB8 turn-in, so it kind of gives you a visual of what you normally do, okay, which should help. Now at the top of the job, you'll see we get some information. We get the job number, we get the job date, and the case if it would have been specified. If I need to get information on the job, like maybe I didn't have the job open up here, I could click on the job number right here, and the job will open to the right. So you can see if I look to the left, there's the job. Okay, so it's just over to the right, that's it. So I can edit and change anything if I need to, or get information I need and just close it. Now, production and billing notes. This is a new field, okay? Basically, every job now that is created in RB9, there is a production and billing notes field that is specific to that particular job. If anyone puts any job-specific production and billing notes in there, you're going to see those notes right there. So let me give you an example of how this would work. I want to show you visually where it pulls from. If I go back to the job and I edit this job, into the additional section, there is production and billing notes. So maybe we made a deal with them and we're supposed to bill them out at $4.75 a page instead of $5. We could say bill 0-1 at $4.75 per page. Right? So somebody would have put that in there at the time of scheduling or any time before this job is taking place. You guys would actually see it right there. So that's nice. We gave you a nice place where you can see all of your important information pertaining to the job. And that's your reminder, right? Don't forget to do something as production and billing. Okay? Now let's talk about step 1. First thing you do when doing turn-in. Reporter turned in the job. You guys have the billing sheet in front of you. and now you also have the ASCII, right, with the exhibits ready to go. So you got to start from scratch. We want to enter the witness first. Very self-explanatory on the witness, not very different from how RB8 is handled. You're going to click New over to the top right. The witness will automatically appear from the job. You'll notice a lot of similar fields here. Pages, deduct, beginning and ending page, volume number, last exhibit marked, actual start time and end time, and remarks. So I can put pages here, okay? The only new fields here is number 1, witness email. Okay, if you have the email address of the witness, if you guys get it, populate it right here. Why did we add that? Well, the reason why we added that is because if you guys produce letters under the production menu, those letters can now be emailed directly from RB9. In the previous version, in RB8, you can only produce the letters, but you couldn't send them directly from the system. You had to basically export them as a PDF or print them as a PDF, and then fire up an email, and then you could send them out, right? So it's a lot better like that if you actually use those letters in RB9. The other difference is right here, resource. Now notice, usually when you hit new and there's an assigned resource, the resource will just appear. But that process has changed, okay? Because in RB now, we actually track which resource is taking care of which part of the job. It is called a task. So we actually assign resources to the task that they're completing for the job. So for example, if the client calls and says they needed a court reporter, then the job would have a task named to it, tied to it, called depot or court reporting. And to that task, I would assign a court reporter. If they needed a videographer, then I would assign a task named video to that particular job, and I would assign the videographer. That's what I would do, okay? So when you turn in the witness, you have to tell RB, okay, well, which resource assigned to which task is the one that took this witness? Because that's how you complete somebody's job. So if a resource you're turning it in for, they turned it in, we don't ever want it to show up as a task in progress for them because they turned in all their work. So that's exactly what we're doing right here. So what you have to do to get the resource into the resource field is you need to grab the task from the job. So you'll simply click on Actions, and you're going to select Lookup Task. So what that will do is it'll look back at the job, and it shows you, hey, there's a court reporting task there. Jason's assigned to it. So you're turning in a witness, and we know Jason was assigned to it. Is this Jason's task that you're turning in, right? Is Jason the one that deposed that witness? Yes. So I click on court reporting, and it automatically brings the name in. See, if I would have done this, right, and there was video here with the videographer, then see, I still grab the one that should be associated with that witness. I wouldn't associate reporter and videographer to one witness. You only do one of them. I'm only turning in the court reporting portion of the job. And that will allow calendar and everybody else to track who has what task outstanding. Because if you don't turn them in and tie it to the witness, then it's like they never turned in their job, and they can actually keep up with who has outstanding jobs. That's the whole point. So we have the resource tied to the witness now. So what you can do is you can click Save, and then Save and Edit. That will take you to the repository section. So this is just like the witness level repository in RB8. So this is where you would upload all the files that pertain to the witness, right? ASCII, exhibits, whatever you have. So in my example, I have ASCIIs and exhibits. So I'm going to click New to upload a new file. And this actually supports drag and drop. So if I have my folder open right here, and these are my files, my sample ASCII and my 3 exhibits, I can simply drag them over here and let it go. We'll bring all those in, okay? Otherwise, if you don't like drag and drop, you can click in the box, and that will open up the standard, search and select the files. So let's go ahead and click Next. And here I can set the file types, right? That's what I need to do here. So there's only 3 exhibits. Technically, I can go exhibit, 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 or you can go set value file type, and I can say I'm going to choose exhibit, and I'm going to make it for each of these 3 files. So if you're uploading a ton of exhibits, right, this will come in handy because you don't have to do them one at a time like how I was doing prior to that. So I can just say, okay, all 3 of those are now exhibits without me doing all of them one by one. ASCII needs to be ASCII. That's still important. If you use RB for production to create PDF transcripts, that's the kicker to be able to create it, right? Click upload files. RB will upload the files real quick. Okay. So there's my 3 ASCIIs. Here's my, my 3 exhibits, and here's my 1 ASCII. So you'll notice right here, only the ASCII has this little actions drop down. I'm pretty sure you know what's going to be there. Once I click it, it's going to say create PDF transcript. You only have the option to do that because it's based on the file type being ASCII, right? So let's create the transcript. So let's see what this process looks like. This process is not really any different from RB8. The one difference is that it's vastly faster, way faster than how it runs on your local desktop PC. So create PDF. And then your preferences will appear. So remember, you still have all the same preferences, your generals, your header and footer, how you like the word index and word list, and your condensed transcript options. Okay, you still have all those. All your profiles that you have set will still be here as well, your preferences, and those will convert over as well. So let's go ahead and click next. And so RB, this is your verification screen. You can set your do not condense so many pages if you choose to do that. So this one, I think it's 1 or 2, I'll do 3 pages. I won't condense the first 3. And I'll hit next. So that's it. RB created that transcript. This is the final screen already. So that's how fast it was. If I needed to look at this transcript or I wanted to look at it now, I could click on the file name. And since this is actually in a web browser, it's actually downloaded this PDF transcript to my computer. So this is what my transcript actually looks like. Again, it's going to be all similar to what you're already used to if you use RB8 to create your PDF transcripts now. Okay. Notice here, you can still link exhibits. Okay, so I can go link exhibits. RB will ask me if I want to do it to the condensed transcript at the same time. Sure, I can do that. Let's do that. And then, again, do not link the first number of pages. I'm going to ignore that. I'll just hit next. Got to grab my ASCII files, and those are already in the repository, so they show up. So, yes, your ASCIIs must be uploaded and tied to the witness before you get to this step. Click next. This is where I have to choose my alias pattern. So let RB do the work. You have all your alias patterns already set up. All you got to do is click save. And RB will look through the transcript to see if any of those patterns occur, in which case, in my example, it found 2. So then all I got to do is click next. And now it's actually linking the exhibits to the PDF. And it's done. So this is your LE version, link exhibits, and this is your LE version there too. So again, very similar to what you're already used to. Let's look at this one real quick. Okay, so here is an LE. This is the full size. Let's make it a little bigger. And we'll just go down a little bit. Oh, there we go. So you know how it is. It shows up in yellow. It makes that little hand once you click over it. And if you click on the exhibit 1 here, it opens in a tab. It opens up another file. So that's how it works. Okay? So it's all the same from RB8. Close that out. If I needed to digitally sign this transcript, I'll sign the one with link exhibits right here. Okay, so I could basically go to my page where I need it. So it could be right there. I go resource sign. Click in here where I want it. And it will appear. So you can always add a second signature if you need to. So one thing better, you notice now it actually goes with the text. Before it used to cover it up. So this is a lot better. So you can save this. Okay. And now I can't sign that one. But if I was done, I wanted to go ahead and have these in the repository, then I could check off what I needed to, and then save to repository. Choose my file types, Word index. I can choose Word index right there. PDF transcript with exhibits, upload, and then close. I don't need to upload anything else, so I can close this. So now, of course, I have my 2 PDF files that are now uploaded. Okay? Let's go ahead and click Save. And now, as production, let's at least start the orders. We're going to get this ready for billing, so production at a minimum can at least add, who's ordering, and their ancillary items. The items that the reporter told us that they're ordering, like the O&1, the exhibits, the rough draft, right? The other stuff, like doing the billing rate and adding the appearance fee, adding the shipping charges, that can be done by billing later on, okay? But at a minimum, production can create the invoices and start adding the orders. So, how does production create the invoices and create the orders? Well, that's going to be down in that invoices section down there. So if you think about RB8, that was step 2 of turn-in. In step 2 of that RB8 turn-in, you could add invoices in one of 2 ways. There was a long way where you're just searching and selecting, and then there was also a short way where you utilize pre-fill parties, and you can just grab the job parties and automatically bring them in. So let's look at both ways. We're going to look at the long way first. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to utilize the plus sign, the new button. This is doing it manually, okay? So I'm going to go here, click new. See, if I look to the left here, this is actually my invoice information. I'm creating the new invoice. I'm going to select my sold to client first, which is the same as RB8. You're always selecting the ordering client first. So over to the right, it's already brought me to a search section. So it's searching by firm. So that's one thing different than what RB8 did. You search by ordering contact. This one searches by firm, but you can change it to contact if you want to here. But it's no big deal. I can simply type in part of my firm name, select them, and choose my sold to contact. You'll see any warnings and any other production and billing notes right there, which could be helpful. And when I get down to the bill to information, if bill to is same as sold to, obviously check this box, right? If not, I can leave it unchecked. And then you can look up another firm and you can choose the insurance company if you need to, or somebody else that would be paying the bill, right? I'm going to leave mine same as sold to. And if we go down here, this could be the witness they're ordering on. They're going to get the original. It's not a COD. Print details and invoices. I can do that, or it can obviously come from the firm. And then I'll save it. Now what happens is when you create an invoice, RB is kind of realizing, hey, you know what? You turned in the witness, and it was that resources task. Now you're creating an invoice. So RB realizes, well, if you're creating an invoice, well, the resource must have turned in their work. Otherwise, why would you even be doing this, right? So right here, RB is asking us something very, very important. It's asking us, hey, do you want to set the turn-in and completed date for Jason's task? So if you're not waiting on anything else from Jason, you're turning this in because Jason's done all his work, right? Then the last thing we should do is complete his task. Why? So it no longer shows up as an outstanding job that he needs to turn in. So this is a very important step. After you create the invoices, if you're not waiting for anything else from this resource, check this task and set the turn-in completed date. Very important, okay? Because that will make it, like I said, the task in progress will be 100%. This job, literally, when I did that, just fell off the task in progress list for Jason. That's what happened. Now look down here. Invoices section, right? So if I have to compare this to RB8, right? Here's what we did. We created the invoice, that's step 2. Then it created the order, ordering on Megan Hutchins. And then we're going to eventually add the service items. That will be step 4. So that's why I said earlier, invoices section is a combination of steps 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So it's not much different than what you're already used to. It just looks different. That's the main thing. Okay? So that would be adding the invoice the long way. So let's delete this invoice now. Let's say we're going to use Prefill. So I'm going to click on the invoice and delete it. We don't need it. So I don't want to utilize new right here. I want a Prefill. Prefill from what was step 2 in RB8. So Prefill is under more actions right here. So more actions, Prefill orders and services. RB will look back at the job. So if both of them are ordering, I can simply check them both off and then click Create Invoice. Now, if I would have done that for the first time, right now to the right side would have brought up that set turn in completed date for the resource. But since I already did that on the previous invoice, it did not show up. So if you prefill, you'll be asked that same question that I was asked when I created the invoice manually. Okay? Now, if we look here now, we have 2 invoices. So you can see how this now works. Step 2, Step 3, Step 4. Step 2, Step 3, Step 4. Okay, so not that different. Under each order, you're specifying what he would be ordering. Under Step 3, the order, you'd be putting what Mr. Stratford would be ordering down there. That's how you do it. Okay? Now, as production, you may want to add, like I said, the O&1, the orders, and things like that, right? So you can at least do some of the work that billing will just come in and finish off. Like, for example, there's 2 invoices here. I want to specify which one's the original. I'm going to stick with it and say David Stratford's the original. So what I can do is go back up to More Actions, Set Original. And I said I'm going to make it Stratford's. Save. Okay, so now we have original checkbox here, not up here. Okay, so how do I add some of the service items to this invoice? Maybe Stratford's getting the O&1 and exhibits in a rough draft. Mr. Weaver's getting a copy with exhibits. How do I add those to the invoices? Well, here's how you do it. You're always adding service items underneath the order. So to get service items here, you're going to go to the left of the order, and you can either add services one by hitting New Service, or you can prefill services, and that will allow you to add the services using billing sets, right? So remember, billing sets, in RB8, you click on prefill services in Step 3, right? If you utilize that. New Service, the top option, that's Step 4, just hitting New. So let's say I'm just going to do New, right? Do them one at a time. This is the longer way, but you can still do it. Hit New Service. I'm going to say, again, he's getting a copy. Save in New. And then we can say he's also getting exhibits. So again, this looks similar to choosing a service item in RB8. It's in different places. That's it. So we'll say this was 6 exhibits. Save and close. So if you look here, Step 2, Step 3, Step 4. Okay, so we can see that these are definitely his service items. If I come to Mr. Stratford now and I want to do his order, I could do New Service if I wanted to, but I can do Prefill too. Let's do Prefill. Let's add from the billing set. Even though I don't know all the service items that he's being billed for, but I can still add what I need to, so it's going to be my O&1 billing set. I can uncheck all, because you know what? Maybe I just do these right here. O&1 exhibits, rough draft. So exhibits 6, rough draft 45 pages, save. All those service items add with a single click of a button. So you basically turned in this job. You did the production, you turned everything in. Now what do you have to do? You can probably go ahead and set up the shipping, right? Now remember, in RB8, if you did shipping, you can actually click the shipping button at the top. Notice there is no shipping button here in RB9. It's coming. We're actually going to have that in the system in our Q4 update. So it's either not there now when you guys are having your test system or going to go live, but it will eventually be there, sometime in October for sure. So if you want to do shipping from RB right now, you're going to go Production, and go to shipping. So we made shipping its own function in RB9, which I think is a lot better because you can easily find orders here and create the shipping, and then you can easily go here to, of course, look up shipping, right? So I can put my job number in, and you'll see both orders appear. So the kicker is, right, you can't ship anything or create shipping until you have the orders in the system, right? So at a minimum, you must have the orders in the system, and to have the orders, you had to have at least created the invoice. So at least, at a minimum, create the invoice and the order and that turn-in feature. But if I wanted to do one of these shippings, to the left of the job number, click on Actions. You're going to go New Shipment. And you can include this order, right? Sending it to the sold to. Delivery method. If you guys utilize UPS or FedEx, remember, we have the integration built in where RB can create a shipping label. I can't take it all the way through the steps, unfortunately, but if we did use FedEx, I could choose FedEx, choose Create Shipping Label, and then I would choose my account, pick all my information, and how you wanted the label, whether you want it to be a PDF or some kind of image, right? And then you download the label. So remember, when you download the label, that will automatically populate the tracking number. So eventually you guys can track that. Remember, this only works with FedEx and UPS. If you guys use some other delivery method, you're manually just putting all that shipping information in on the left-hand side. You only do the stuff on the right if you use FedEx and UPS. Okay? But that's how you do it. And like I said, again, later on, either you're going to have shipping in the turn-in window or you're not. Okay? So that's what it looks like when you do everything from scratch. Okay? But now, we're not going to quite take it to billing yet because we're going to use another scenario, right? What if the reporters turn in the job via RB Connect, which you guys are used to calling it right now RB Web, right? Well, the same functionality exists, in which case the process is actually very similar to what they're already currently doing. So it hasn't changed much. And the way it notifies you guys as production departments for when a reporter turns in a job, it notifies you the same way with one addition. So remember, when a reporter turns in a job via RB Web for RB8, it'll notify you in the message center. And that'll be the same thing that RB9 does, okay? Now, I can go up here where my name is and go to notifications and messages. I already have one sitting here. Turn in notification for the job from Jason Yee, right? So that's turned in by Jason. I received this notification in notifications and messages. But you can also set your account up to where it notifies you in your email as well. So all notifications that you guys can receive in here can also be forwarded to your email address, which is nice, right? Because obviously you're not always in RB9, so you won't always see those new messages pop up, okay? Now, let's take a look at this particular message, the turn-in. It's very similar to what you guys are already used to. Basically, it's going to give you the turn-in information, and you're going to get 2 links in here. The same thing you get in RB8. So if I wanted to see the billing sheet, there's a billing sheet link. And you can download it right here. So one difference here is, right, since RB9 is a web interface, the files technically aren't stored where you can just view them. They're up in the cloud, right? So in order for you to view the file, you have to download it to your computer. Okay, so you do have to click download, and you do have to tell the system to either open it automatically or you have to open it manually. One or the other, depending on how your browser handles it. Like for example, mine, if I hit download, my browser, Chrome, is already set to open PDFs automatically. So this is the billing sheet from RB9. And you can see it's very similar to what RB8's billing sheet looks like, right? Job case information, witness info, you can see if they would have uploaded any files here. And then you have the invoice order information down below. So same thing from RB8. And you can print this out as production to make sure that we're going to get everything correctly, right? Now beyond that, I can close the billing sheet. And now I have a job number link. So again, same thing as RB8. Click on the job number link. And this actually opens up the turn-in for that job. So see, right, here the witness has already been added. Of course, the resource is there because he's the one that turned it in. And then you have your invoices down below. So the resource did some of the work for you, which hopefully they're doing, so you don't have to spend so much time entering data. If they would have uploaded files, right, then go into the witness. And if you go down to the repository section, they're going to be listed right there. So this just happens to be the same files that I uploaded for the last job. But you can basically see, that if I wanted to, I have my create PDF transcript options. Or if I need to take these files down first and do something to them, I can check them off and download them. But that particular standpoint is still the same, right? You already saw this. You create the PDF, do your thing. And then, of course, the orders are already there, so we can go ahead and start the shipping as well. Okay, so not much different. So, how do we finish off the billing for one of these jobs that we just did? And let's just do this one since I already have it open. Okay? So it's very similar to what we did. I have two invoices, one own client, one copy client. So what does billing do when it's time to bill? Well, billing has to choose the billing rate, and billing has to add some other service items. Calculate it, preview it maybe, post it, archive it maybe, and then send the invoices out, right? So those are your options. Those are the things billing has to do. So now that this has been started, what I like to do first is I like to go up to the beginning of the invoices section right here. And I like to go down this list to basically make sure everything's been done. Prefill has already been done. I can see the checkbox for original for David Stratford right there. So set original has been done. If you guys use invoice headers, I would set my invoice headers now. If you need to set your invoice messages, you can also do that now. I already know I have a default message, so my default message is already going to appear. If you guys have a default invoice message from RB8 that's already set, that will automatically show up for RB9 as well. Okay? So the bottom section of this has changed a little bit. So set rates. In RB8, set rates was one button in step 3. But now in RB9, each one of those is its own functionality because we couldn't make it to where it was the same. But let's just say if we look down here, right? Under the order, there's a billing rate column, pay rate column, rush type column. Come down to the second invoice, billing rate column, pay rate column, rush type column. Okay, so you can see if you have rates tied to each order, okay, as you're working on them. Now, I need to set a billing rate for this one. So I would go set, more actions, set billing rates. So this looks just like RB8. Billing rate at the top, no billing rate there because I've never selected one. So what I must do first is click look up billing rate on the top right. RB will show me all of my rates in the system. So I can pick double regular here. And I can check it off to Stratford because I already have one here for Mr. Bergsteiner. And then I can click save. So if you look now, depot regular is listed right here. So pay rate I don't need to do because Jason's already tied to the 70% pay rate table. And if I needed to do rush, it would be more actions, set rush types, and then you can pick your day, right? And then just check off whichever invoice it goes to. I'm not going to set one though. Now this guy's invoice at the bottom, Mr. Daniel Berg, right? His billing rate's already here. I didn't set that. So how in the world did that get there? Because remember, in RB8, you always have to choose the billing rate. No invoice creates without the billing rate unless you pre-fill from a previous term. If you're doing it from scratch, why is the billing rate already there? Well, in RB9, if you guys have negotiated rates with clients and you bill the client out all the time at the same rate, you can actually tie the rate to the firm and tie it to the contact as well. That way, every time you create an invoice for them, RB will have that billing rate already set. If it's done on a job-by-job basis or maybe even a case-by-case basis, you can tie the billing rate to the case or the job party too. So that way, if you're pre-filling from the case or pre-filling from the job when you create the order, again, the billing rate can already be tied to the order. So we hopefully gave you guys one way to set more information ahead of billing That way, it takes away one step for you guys to have to actually set that billing rate. So you may be able to use that, you maybe not. It just depends. Okay? Okay, so I have my billing rates, I have my pay rates here, so let's finish off these invoices. So we got 0-1, exhibits, and rough draft. I need to add an appearance fee, and let's just say a delivery. I can go back up here, one service at a time, or I can do my billing sets. Let's just do billing sets. So prefill services. I'm going to uncheck all because most of this stuff is done. We're just going to do hourly attendance, and we'll say it was 2.5 hours. And we're going to add shipping and handling. That's good enough for me. Save. Okay. Go down to my second order, and we just need to add delivery. So shipping and handling is what it'll be. So if I want to do new service, maybe, I can just do one at a time. Delivery is my subgroup. And we'll say shipping and handling. Here's override if you need to override the price. So you can still override. And that opens up, as you can see, it'll open up the billing rate and the pay rate. Okay, so keep that in mind. Override. Maybe this was only $10. And then save. Okay? So that all still works the same. And you can see your dollar figures are actually already populating in here as we're going. I don't know why there's no price for 0-1 up here, though. What a terrible billing rate. Let's put a price in here. $4.75. Okay. Now, up at the top, these invoices are done. I'm ready to calculate. I'm ready to look at my invoices and make sure everything's good. Calculates up here at the top. So hit calculate. This is the same as RB8. Hit calculate again. Okay, figures all show up now. Okay. Now, notice there's no billing button at the top. Okay, so you still stay here to basically finish off the billing for these invoices up until after you post. Because think about it, in RB8, you hit billing, minimizes the turn-in window, goes to the billing function, you preview your invoice, maybe there's something wrong, you close the invoice, you hit the open the turn-in back up, and then you make your change. Well, we just leave you here now. That way, if you have to change anything, you just close the preview and you're already here. So if I wanted to take a look at one of these invoices, I go to the left of the invoice number. There's actions. And you can select preview invoice. So this is Mr. Stratford's invoice. Okay, so you'll see it's very similar to RB8. This will be you guys. Your logo can still be up here. Case job, invoice information, bill to client. This is the body of the invoice. This is actually something new right here. Location of job. That can be turned off. Mine happens to be turned on. It's just an option in system preferences. If you don't like to show the location, it doesn't matter to you. It is an option. You can turn it off. Okay. This was my invoice message, as you can see. Okay. And then down here, you still have your remittance section with all of that credit card payment stuff, or you can have that or not have it. Okay. So that would be the first invoice. I can close that. If I wanted to look at the second one, it would be the second invoice. And again, I could preview that one, but I'm not going to do that. Okay. So we left you here, see, because if something was wrong, I can easily just change it, update it, calculate, and look again if I need to. I don't have to worry about going back and forth between different functions. Okay. Now, notice at the top now, let's say I'm done with this. There is actually a post invoices button at the top. So you do everything, like I said, you do it from here. Okay, so when you're done and you're ready to post, you're going to click Post Invoices. And RB is going to show you your 2 invoices that you're working on, or however many invoices it is. And we'll show you the invoice amount and the total pay. So you can compare the dollar figures if you need to before actually posting. Okay? And now notice, if these were ready to post, notice the 2 buttons at the top there. You have a Post button. And then you have a Post and Archive button. What's the difference? Well, if you have RB Connect and you archive, or you want to archive a copy of the invoice for your client to be able to download to get a copy of it for themselves in RB Connect, then you want to choose Post and Archive. If you do not have RB Connect, or you don't care about archiving invoices to RB Connect, even if you have it, then just choose Post. Post will simply just straight post the invoice. That's all it'll do. And again, if you forget to archive, you can always archive at a later date if you need to. Okay, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so let's just say I don't want to archive. I forgot, I messed up. I'm going to hit post. So RB will now tell you, operation was successful. Do you want to send the posted invoices? So, again, what RB is doing here is now it posted it and it's asking you, hey, do you need to do anything with those invoices? Some agencies don't. Billers may not print off the invoices right away. They may not email them out right away. Maybe they'll wait till the end of the day. They'll pull up everything they posted and then they'll send everything out at one time. Some agencies do that now, okay? If you don't want to do anything with the invoices until later, simply click no and you can continue on about your day. But if you do want to send them out, whether it's in emailing or printing, then what you want to do is you want to click yes. And this will take you to now the send invoices function. So under the billing menu, if you look here, you have send invoices right here. So send invoices replaces reprint posted invoice. Okay? We don't call it reprint anymore because in RB8 it was called reprint and you could email. Well, that's not printing. So we took it out. Just call it send. Okay? So send invoices. You can still preview the invoice over here if you want, to the left of the invoice number. But if you wanted to send these out, you can check both. And then when you hit send, here's your options. Email or print original. But these are also your current options here. And if I forgot to archive, I can archive original invoice there. Okay? So it's all this really the same controls as what you're used to in RB8. I will tell you this about this function too. One thing I really like about this function, and one thing I really hated about RB8, is that what if you guys ever get a client that calls you and says, hey, you know what, case settled, I need all my invoices for this case, right? What if there are like 100 invoices? I'm sure plenty of you have called me for this before. But I used to tell you guys, well, I don't have an easy way to do that. You got to go to reprint post an invoice. You got to check email for all 100 of them. And it's going to create 100 emails and you got to combine them into one PDF or do whatever you're going to do. But it wasn't an easy way because no matter how many invoices you had, it would create separate files no matter what. But now in RB9, I'm happy to say whether you're using send invoices or client activity, even inquiry client activity, you can send invoices from there. But when you're sending invoices for one client, it lumps them all into one PDF file, which is pretty cool. Let me give you an example. Let's look at client activity. We'll pull up Stratford. Maybe they want to see all their invoices for this year. Search. This is all my invoices for the year. Check all. Send. Invoices at the top right. This will fire up an email is what it's going to do. But if you'll notice here, one invoices PDF. And that's all of the invoices combined into one PDF, which is great. Okay? So basically, all of those will do that in the send invoices function as well as client activity. So that's a very, very, very big improvement to the system right there. Now, if I look at other billing functionalities, they're pretty much the same. Post invoices is strictly for posting. I don't even know how many people actually use that, but you know, back in the day, someone may have did all their billing but not post till the end of the day. So you could go there, pull up all the invoices you're working on, and post them all at the same time. But I think most people post as they go. COD invoices is still treated the same as a COD graveyard, right? Unposted invoices are COD invoices. The CODs never post. So they go there and basically you can delete them over time if you're never going to be able to collect on them. Or if somebody does pay on them, you can uncheck them COD, post them, and apply the payment to them. Okay? Send invoices I already mentioned. Transfer invoice is exactly the same. You could basically, if the bill to or sold to was wrong on a posted invoice, transfer invoice allows you to fix that. Okay? And then lastly, export invoices. Not many people use this. I think roughly not even a whole handful of agencies use this that I know of. But it's for leads 1998B electronic billing. And that would allow you to export an electronic format invoice. So if you guys don't use that or you don't know what it is, You probably don't need to use it, but if you guys ever do get clients that request it, let us know. We can tell you about it, how it needs to be set up. It's pretty easy. But that is the production and billing process for RB9. So I think, like I said, for you guys, the biggest difference is not necessarily the workflow of what you do, but getting used to this turn-in screen now, because it's completely different. So my suggestion, even for me, this was the hardest thing to grasp when I learned this, is, you really need to practice this one. Run it through the motions of creating an invoice. If you create an invoice in RB8, turn around, create that same invoice in RB9 while you're testing. And that will give you a better idea of figuring out what's going wrong. But everything converts, your rates, everything. So at least you know the calculations are going to be the same as what you're experiencing in RB8. So that should make it a little easier. That will wrap up today's session. I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. If you guys are testing, and I hope you do, and you do have questions, by all means, please email your questions to support@omti.com, or please call our support line at 650-396-2105, because we want to take this time and really iron out any issues you guys are going to have, okay, and help you through this. But okay, I'd like to say thank you for everyone, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.